Connections. Today we're going to have a conversation with a real trooper, Valerie Okeeffe, our town supervisor. Welcome to Community Connections, Valerie. I don't think you've ever been on Community Connections.
No, I haven't, but I'm always happy to talk to you, Glenna.
Oh,
whether
thank
it's
you
on
for
the
coming.
news or in the Grand Union.
Yes. Well, you are now been elected, was it November?
Elected November, and I got sworn in 1st of January.
January, and then you had an accident.
Yes. I slipped and fell on the ice coming out of the town center.
Oh, that's a shame.
So,
oh, duty.
yes.
Duty.
Yes.
Well, but you are following a line of other women who have held that position. So people in the Larchmont Mamaroneck communities are accustomed to women being in charge.
Right.
You know, and I look forward to seeing more equity done with the women in charge now. Now, what do you think you would like to fulfill in your time?
Well, what I'd like to do is try to keep my eye and keep the community's eye focused on development in the sense that we have very little land left in the town of Mamaroneck, and I don't want us to inadvertently squander the resources that we have, whether they're private or public. So that we will be looking, and the town board, I think, pretty much agrees on this, to identify what portions of the unincorporated area may be targets for development, and if they are developed, how they'll be developed, so that we preserve the suburban character of the community. You know, there are suburbs sometimes that started off as suburbs in Queens that cheek by jowl are just one red apartment building after another, and what we're going to try to do is to keep some open space here and there so that the feeling or ambiance of quiet to a certain extent is maintained here. The community has changed tremendously since I came here in 1950 when I was, I guess I was 6 or 7 years old. Well, there were many fewer automobiles. Kids walked to school pretty much.
Right.
And when you saw people coming off the train, it was more lackadaisical. Now, everyone rushes off like we're more urban. It reminds me kind of maybe what Forest Hills was like. People are, the pace is much quicker.
Yes.
So that just the feeling in the community, if we can keep the noise down, that we've got a leaf blower law without going crazy over-regulating. But
yes.
The traffic is now a huge problem.
Yes.
And that's why we're so concerned to a large extent about this behemoth IKEA store that's proposed to be built on our borders right at the City Park area of New Rochelle. So we're taking a very aggressive stance. We've hired attorneys and planners, as have the village of Larchmont, to try to do everything we can to stop that. I mean, some of the people say, well, mitigate the consequences, but I'd really like to see it not there. I think it's a wrong project in the wrong place. Not only from a point of view that it's 300,000 square feet with a gigantic parking lot, 17 acres, there'd be traffic coming down Weaver Street, coming down Murray Avenue, probably Pine Brook Boulevard, probably through the Post Road, and then across Chatsworth, which would block up all kinds of trouble in the village of Larchmont.
Well, in case there are some people watching who don't know where this is, if they live on the extreme east side of Mamaroneck, may not be aware of the border.
The border of the unincorporated area of the town of Mamaroneck on 5th Avenue, which runs from Potter Avenue Bridge off Palmer Avenue in New Rochelle all the way up to Myrtle Boulevard. The Collins Brothers Movers are there. The Lebrett's Hardware Store is there. The Westchester Surgical place used to be right there. It's right near the Thruway.
Right, it's right behind or beside
the Thruway. It
yes.
would go basically from where the New York State Thruway yard is down to where the City Park Pizza Parlor was. It's a huge, big piece, and it would go from the Thruway right-of-way to 5th Avenue. And it borders right on our street called Valley Place, where the Bluebird Taxi Garage is there. So it'd go right down the middle of this street. And in that area are houses of worship. There's light industry in there. There's residential. And it's a mixed neighborhood. It's been racially integrated for 50 years. There's virtually no crime in there. There's no drugs. There's no anything. And the city of New Rochelle, it's taken upon itself, with IKEA's money, to designate this area as a blighted area, which is the kind of precursor for an eminent domain taking.
Yes.
So the social justice question is, do you destroy a neighborhood of working class people who are getting along fine, who many of whom have had 3 jobs, where there's good jobs in there, where people are paid $20, $30 an hour as skilled craftsmen, knock them out of there, kick them out, and bring in an international corporation that puts up a huge store which hires people at minimum wage, many of whom are not full-time employees but part-time employees, and these people will not even have any benefits. The question is, can you move these people to some place where they can have the same kind of opportunities? And I don't think
Well, under
you
eminent
can.
domain, is the government required to find another location for business?
They try to find something suitable or equivalent within the jurisdiction which they move them. But the argument from the residents in there is that there's no place in the city of New Rochelle where they could replicate or duplicate what they have. So it's a sad story. Phil Reisman, who's a Larchmont boy, who's writing now in the Journal News, and took over where Nancy Okeeffe used to write, has had several very almost H.L. Mencken-esque articles putting a human face on what this thing is.
But I wonder about this. I know the IKEA in, I think it's a Caucus.
Yeah, there's one in Elizabeth, New Jersey.
All right.
Yeah.
But this one would be facing a city park where children
Right.
play.
They
I
don't-
don't understand, and children play on the weekends.
They play on the
then
weekends.
right behind the park, there's a housing development.
Yeah.
So you're going to have lots of children.
There are children all around. The one in New Jersey and the one in Long Island are one's in strip malls in Long Island in a great big street with one mall after another. The one in New Jersey is an industrial park with a
Right.
back door of it are containerized ships from the port of Newark or port of Elizabeth.
Right.
On an 8-lane federal highway. What this would be right on the thruway, but the ingress and egress somehow, if it under its present configuration, would be right near where all these people are.
Right.
Plus the fact you wonder, well, that's a public housing project. They're not rich people who live across the
No,
street from there.
absolutely not.
And in that neighborhood aren't rich people either. So you just wonder, economics does have it obviously plays a part in your strength as far as your political power. But there seem to be more and more people in the city of New Rochelle and in the town of Mamaroneck and village of Larchmont joining an organization called RAIN, W-R-A-I-N, Westchester Residents Against IKEA Now. And more residents of the neighborhoods behind City Hall are joining that. And there's a man called Randolph Scott McLaughlin, who's an African-American and a very able professor of law at Pace, who's the head of an organization there, I think it's called Foundation for Social Justice. He is now taking up the cause of the residents in the City Park area, so that we hope to leave no stone unturned. So we hope that the council people in the city of New Rochelle will see that this is not only good from a social justice point of view, it's not good, but also the fact that they would be in New Rochelle getting all the economic benefit. They would get a lot of sales tax, but they would be giving the IKEA Corporation a 15-year free ride on property taxes. So the economic benefit would come to New Rochelle. The detriment or the bad part of it would come to the town of Mamaroneck and Larchmont. We'd have the traffic, we'd have the noise pollution, we'd have trucks going in and out Bernal Boulevard all night long delivering
Because you
things.
can't exit from the highway
No,
right there.
No, unless, now then the question is, would they get the federal government and the State Thruway Authority to put in an entrance right into IKEA? And now if they do that, they'll have to have approval of the Federal Highway Administration, and the law says that you cannot put an entrance or exit on a federal highway for any private purpose if, as a consequence, any of the traffic would slow down or back up on the federal highway. Whether or not that piece of land they have is big enough to accomplish such a thing, I don't know. But we're going to be talking to Susie Oppenheimer, we're talking to Ron Tochi, we're talking to George Latimer. We're trying to look at some form of regional planning so that this isn't unique here because you've had Portchester and Rye, you've got Yonkers and Greenberg, and more of these things are going to happen. Now the cities that are under strain economically are for development more than the towns and villages. because they need to increase their tax base. So a place like Yonkers or Mount Vernon or New Rochelle would be more likely to be against any kind of regional planning, whereas the smaller places that are on the borders are more in favor of regional planning. But there has to be some way to work this out, because I don't want to have the kind of Marie Antoinette attitude. Here we are sitting over in Larchmont telling New Rochelle that they shouldn't be able to develop. Far from it. We'd like to be able to work something out where we can have an accommodation. The healthier New Rochelle is economically, the better it is for us.
Right.
The better it is for everybody. We just our assertion is that this is absolutely the wrong development here on this site. It's just no good for
Right,
this
it just
site.
doesn't seem to fit.
No.
Not at all.
So then if you put a big box up,
So you're already starting off with a big project.
we're starting off with a big project. We're working very hard. I'm working 10 or 15 hours a week just on this. Cheryl Louie is working on it. Ken Bialo in the Village of Larchmont's working on it. Steve Altieri, our town administrator, is working on it. And as I say, we're trying to pull we're trying to get the state and the county legislature to look at passing some kind of law, which would be new, that would give us some input into what kind of things can be developed outside of our borders, on our borders. You know, not having tentacles going into the city of New Rochelle, but on our borders. This is right on our border.
But they projected 1,300 cars.
1,300 car parking lot, 600 cars going in and out of this place
An hour.
an hour. Now
That
just
seems
think about that.
Phenomenal to
No.
me.
So
How can you have that much traffic right in front? Well, what time? Do you know what time do they open their store?
I don't know, but I don't know what time they open it. Let's say they opened it at 10 and closed it at 10. And closed it
No,
at
I'm
9.
thinking of the school buses
Oh.
coming in to that housing project, and then or the children coming home at lunchtime, or even at 3 o'clock.
Correct.
I can't.
No, it just doesn't
picture-
seem to be anything. The other thing is they've already said they would widen Fifth Avenue. Now, if they widen Fifth Avenue, that will cut into some of the housing project's front lawn, and it will take away some of the playing fields
The
and city
playing
parks,
fields of-
presumably.
Right.
So it's a deal that just doesn't ring right for us. And, so we
So
hope.
we'll keep our eye on it, and if people are interested, they call. Is there a telephone number that people can
Well,
call?
they can call me at 381-7805, and we will put
381-7805
at the town center, and we will give them the information on rain. There's going to be a meeting coming up. They have them every now and then. There'll be one coming up soon, which will be held over in the Elks Club in New Rochelle at 19 the Boulevard. And they're usually held on Sunday afternoons from 4 to 5:30, and they just last 1.5 hours. It doesn't go on and on.
Right.
And we have some very able people who are city planners, attorneys, engineers, traffic people, retail people, all kinds of people who are volunteering their services, PR people. The people I'm very worried about are the ones who live in the apartment houses, like the Carlton House, and the other
Yes.
ones, 21 North Chatsworth, 1460 North Chatsworth, 17 North Chatsworth, because this truck traffic will be going right by their back doors, and the people on Washington Square. So
Right.
we have to go to bat for these people, and we hope that we can entice and encourage and cajole both Senator Oppenheimer and Assemblyman Tochi to pick up the cudgels and go to bat for us.
Yeah.
So
Yes. It's a big project in front
so
of
that's a
you.
big project. Other projects are
I'm exhausted already.
child
So what else
safety.
will
The
you be
traffic
doing?
also involves child safety. We have more and more traffic around Murray Avenue School. There's more and more traffic now around Chatsworth. We're concerned very much about the new addition to the Hommock School, not for any pedagogical reasons, but we're just concerned how we are going to work out with the school district, which I'm convinced and I'm committed to do, how we're going to work out a method where the traffic doesn't back up so badly, because now all the 6th grade children are going to be in Hommocks. There's going to be a new construction, and before that even happens, we've got traffic backed up from Hommock School past St. John and Paul School in the morning on Weaver Street. And we have a gridlock at Palmer Avenue. We have cars going in and out of Howell Park. There's also problems in the Village of Larchmont going through Sherwood and those Pine Brook areas, going from Palmer to the Post Road, which is a problem in the Village of Larchmont. There's just so much traffic that it does change the kind of quality of life. So we're going to try to work on that, but especially around the schools. I've committed myself when I ran, if we need more crossing guards, we'll have more crossing guards. If we need more enforcement by the police, we'll have more enforcement by the police. Because even though it's frustrating for the caregivers and the parents to
We
have to
need more
park for
walking by the people.
We need more walking. Yeah, we need more walking.
Because I'm not here as long as you are, but it used to be one-car house.
Yeah.
Now, if you pass, you'll see 3
I know.
cars, 4 cars in the driveway.
That's Wall Street, I guess.
I mean, it's amazing. And I can't get over, I was speaking to a young mother, I'm sure I've mentioned it with different people, and she said she has to go home to take her 10-year-old. I said, doesn't he have a bicycle?
Yeah.
And no, I don't know what the bicycle is for.
Yeah.
But she drives the children all around. And I said, oh.
Well, I think it's people who've moved from the city and they were more likely to walk their kids a couple of blocks. And they're more fearful of safety in the city, where they were with the child from where they went from home to handing them over to the school.
Right.
And they don't necessarily feel comfortable to just let the kid walk out the thing and wave goodbye and hope
No,
that he
they're
gets to
not.
school and come home. The culture has changed as far as the anxiety level about children's safety on the part of the parents has gone up. So we try to do whatever we can to make the kids safe walking.
Right,
Right.
I used to walk to
Yeah.
school, and that was in the city.
Yeah.
And as you went to each block, you picked up 2 or 3
Say
more.
friends
and then
or
you picked up-
enemies.
Right. And then you picked up, as you continued, and by the time I walked, I think it was from 153rd to 148th. So by the time we got there were like 20
Yeah.
people, 20 children walking together or more. There's another group there, another group. But when I look at Chatsworth, I said, what is this?
Were you 153rd in Washington Heights or 153rd in the Bronx?
153rd in the valley,
Yeah.
beneath Washington
Washington
Heights. Near the Polo
Oh,
Grounds.
yeah, I know.
You know
Over
the Polo
there, yeah,
Grounds?
looking over the Harlem River. Yeah,
Right.
I know.
And
Because my mother grew up on 148th Street, so I know that neighborhood.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, but I was down near
Yeah.
the Polo Grounds. In fact, when I say to some young
Yeah.
person Polo Grounds, they said, "What's that?" I said, "Oh my God."
I'm old enough to have gone to see Carl Hubble pitch at the Polo Grounds.
Yeah. If I went to 8th
Maybe he wasn't
Avenue,
pitching,
I
he was
could see the
there.
Polo Grounds.
Yeah.
If I went to McComb's place
Yeah,
on my same
right.
block, I could see the Yankee Stadium.
That's-
I could walk to either one of the stadiums.
that-
But I was a Brooklyn Dodger.
Yeah, I was too. Roy Campanella and Gil Hodges. I was a Brooklyn Dodger fan too.
Right. All right, so what else are we going to be looking forward to?
Well, I hope that we can reach out to more people in different neighborhoods in the community. Elaine Price certainly started that. I'm sure Caroline Silverstone did too, and I'm sure Paul Ryan did. But I really think that we are in a place that's somewhat, we're lucky to be able to live here, all of us. And there's such a rich mix of people that we try to bring into the government and the community life. Newcomers and not old people, which I'm counting myself more and more
Of course.
every day, but older residents, people who've been here a longer time. What happens is you get people in political life and they bring people whom they know. It's their house of worship, their neighborhood where they went to school.
Right, right.
And I'm going to try to make an effort to try to bring in some people that mix them up a little bit, because it's a great gift to know people from other parts of the town. So I'll try to get people from all over, both the villages and the town of Mamaroneck. And I'm especially interested now in the Hispanic Resource Center, which is just opening. I think that it's important that in communities that we reach out to the immigrants to help them assimilate into American culture and into American life. Now, there's some kinds of type of xenophobia that we all have. Somebody's different and we kind of shy away. And sometimes we're resentful that newcomers seem to be getting things that we didn't get or our progenitors didn't get, because if they came over and landed at Ellis Island, there was no federal government helping them. There are no social programs. But I think we kind of have to get beyond that. And I notice that if people meet one another, and there's all kinds of people with all skills and wealth of all different kinds, whether it's monetary or talents, when they're put in touch with some of the new people have skills that are needed, and you kind of put people together, and it just makes it a much quicker, more enjoyable interaction between people. So that's what I'd like to do.
But that's what America was supposed to have been
Yeah.
based on. So it's constantly seeking to fulfill the dream of America. It has not been finished
No, but I
yet.
do think that my children, for example, or my grandchildren have much less of distinction between ethnicity and religious groups than I did in my generation.
Oh, yes.
They just take people for granted. People aren't pigeonholed, they're this color, they're that religion as much. I mean, New Yorkers, we always know who everybody is. When you go to California, they say, well, she came from Kansas or she came from Kentucky. We say she came from, it depends on where you come from, you know, the Grand Concourse, or she came from Jamaica or Ireland or, you know, Poland or wherever you came from. We're aware of people's ethnicity, but we're much more relaxed about it. And to have a good, healthy community, no group of people should feel that they are not included in the power structure. I mean, wait, maybe kind of a Pentagon-sounding high-powered word.
Yes.
But they should feel as if, A, they have access, and B, if they want to get involved, that they have just as much of a chance, a shot, to get into decision-making roles as anybody else. And that's what I'm trying to aim at.
Good. And I think you said that you're taking ads out now, official newspapers. Don't worry about it. You're using the county press?
Yes. The county press is an African-American, predominantly geared to African-American readers. And I did ask, and the board did approve, that in our list of official publications where we put legal notices that the county press would be added. We've also added the Sound and Town Report, which is a local paper.
That new paper, yes.
And we have the Journal News. And we have Soundview News, but I want to put our press releases out into these other papers so other people see what we're doing. You know, if you go to black churches, usually you'll see a copy of the, you know, the county press around, or places that people pick it up.
Right.
Whereas we don't have so many African Americans here that everyone knows this paper. I read the paper just because I'm kind of nosy.
No, it's not
I like
nosy.
to know what's going on.
You want to know what's going on, right?
But
then if you advertise, when it comes time for contracts and bidding, would those then be advertised in the county press, so black contractors would have an opportunity?
Yes, but anybody, you see, you're required to put the notice into a paper of general circulation. So you could put it in the Catholic News, you could put it in the Jewish press, as long as it's lots of people are reading it.
Right, but do black contractors...
they may be much more likely to read
the county press. I mean, do we have any contracts with the town or any place around here with black contractors? Do we have any?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. There are all kinds of set-asides and things that I'm not really aware of. I'll have to learn about that.
Right.
I'll have to look into that.
Because that's very important in upgrading, bringing up a group that has been suppressed for 400 years and which continues to be suppressed in some areas.
As far as I'm concerned, the thing that brings people up and makes you like each other the most is if you work together and people have jobs. If people have jobs and can feed themselves and feed their kids and get a decent place to live and decent clothes, that's the way to do it. So that's why New York State is somewhat at a disadvantage because of our very high state taxes. That industry has moved out of New York State, and inner cities are suffering because it's hard to make a living. It's hard for a company to come in and want to do business with all the taxes. So that any kind of thing that we can do, no matter who our next senator is, we're looking for jobs in New York State. And the economy is very good now, and we have very little unemployment in the southern part of New York State, but we have a tremendous amount still upstate.
Yeah, nationally, just this morning I heard them say that this was the lowest rate of unemployment in America in the last 30 years. But lots of those jobs... a
lot of them are minimum wage jobs. They're not real things
jobs,
where you can support yourself or a family. People go to 2 or 3 different jobs, and very often they don't get benefits at these jobs.
Right.
So we want to get... that's why it's important that working people are paid at living wage and have decent benefits.
And it's very important for people to get an education.
Absolutely.
This is crucial.
And talking about women, I was thinking you were talking about women. I went to a girls' high school and I went to a girls' college, although I am an alumna of Murray Avenue very proudly, and also of the junior high here on the Post Road, which has now been folded into the high school. But when you look at who's who in America, this may be changing. The vast majority of women in who's who in America went to female colleges. I think there's less... I think girls in schools now and women in schools have less feeling that they have to be played kind of dumb to be accepted. You know what I mean? I think that's gone, but there's no doubt.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
It's not.
You know, I even remember when I was in law school, having gone to girls' college, with other people from girls' colleges, we were more likely to raise our hand, maybe. But I didn't want to appear too, you didn't want to overdo it either. You know what I mean? Which is...
The boys never felt
no,
like that.
The boys don't
They
feel
never
like
had
that.
those feelings whatsoever.
I don't know whether that's nurture or nature or both, a combination of both, but I think it's getting better. But I do think that women who had a chance in school to be the head of the newspaper or the president of the class or the head of the whatever it is, maybe have a little more
We used to have
chutzpah.
debating societies.
Yeah, maybe a little more self-confidence. That's obviously not universally true.
Right.
You know.
I attended a women's college.
But when we got to law school, we were a little bit, well, maybe a little bit more a little bit less socially at ease, maybe a teeny bit, but certainly academically more at ease as far as expressing ourselves or asking questions. So.
Well, I'm so glad you attended a women's college.
Well, there aren't too many of them left.
Right. Well, that's another thing about this equality
Yeah, right.
and things. But I hear some of them are going back. I don't quite
And then you say,
understand
well,
that.
we had women's colleges and there were men's colleges. And
Yes.
now there's still some women's colleges around. But I don't know how many men's colleges there are, but I think they get in trouble from the federal government, don't they? I mean, to excluding women. So it's kind of, I don't know if it's really
But I think they
equitable.
should have both.
Yeah.
So you have your
You have a choice.
You
Yeah,
have a choice.
choice.
I believe in choices.
Yeah.
Well, I can see that Mamaroneck is going to have some wonderful leadership for
I
the
hope
next
so.
couple of years.
Hope to work very closely in collegial fashion with my Democrat colleagues on the town board.
Good. Well, I hope everyone who has not met you before will learn something about you
Thank
today.
you, Glenna.
Thank you
Thank
very
you. It's
much.
delightful to be here. Thank you.
Of course, it was not enough time.
No.
Yes. So you will have to come back.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you
quite
for having
welcome.
me.
Well, that's it for today. As usual, not enough time, and particularly when two women start to talk, there's definitely a half hour can't do it. Until we meet again, this is Glenna Gray for Community Connections. Did you get your mammogram? Stay positive. Thanks.